UNL Extension Range and Forage Specialist Jerry Volesky is our guest. We're standing at one of the pastures here at the West Central Research and Extension Center, and as we look at the dryness conditions across the state, Jerry, how have pastures and ranges held up as we get into the first part of July?
Well, things as far as the pastures and range, they continue to deteriorate, and it really began for us this past spring, and mostly during the month of May, and things have gone downhill since then.
We're talking the first week of July, and things don't look to get any better. It's forecasted 100 degrees for at least today and tomorrow, and upper 90s for the rest. What's the productivity been on these ranges so far?
Well, and in a lot of the ranges and pastures in central and western Nebraska, we've only seen about 30 to maybe 50% in a good case as far as the production of our cool season grasses. And now we're basically in the middle or a key part of our warm season grass growth, particularly in the sandhills. And those and many of those grasses, they have a little bit of green in them yet, but their growth so far has been very small, and we were expecting to see dramatic reductions in their productivity as well.
So basically nowhere close to where they would normally be.
No, I think we will end up this year, 2012, well below average in terms of our productivity, and that would even include cases where we do get some rains here during July. We're just getting too far into the growing season to make a significant difference or impact.
We knew it was going to be bad. We talked about this a long time ago, but did you expect that it was going to get this dry?
No, I didn't. I think it may have caught quite a few of the producers and ranchers off guard, and so they've had to make some quick management decisions related to their livestock and pasture management.
What are you looking at, and what are you recommending for stocking rates as we go through the rest of this summer, specifically July and August?
Well, during the month of July, it's a very critical month with respect to the grazing that we do, and this is mostly an impact on the warm season grasses. As I mentioned, they do have some growth in them. They're still a little bit of green, I guess. They may be more partially dormant, but the basic thing is that they are currently under severe stress because of the drought. And then if we excessively graze some of those pastures during July, that grazing is an additional stress for them, and that will we're going to see the results of that next year too, even if we do have more average rainfall next year. So they do need to be very cautious with their grazing during the month of July in terms of the stocking rates and the level of use they put on the pastures. And to do that, they certainly would need to adjust their rotations, and in many cases too, depending on the severity of the drought and their location and how their pastures look, consider some significant destocking. Once we get into the fall of the year, and as those grasses, all the grasses go completely dormant, it can become more of a cleanup type of grazing approach, where if we do have some forage in those pastures yet, it's going to be brown, dry, would have some value. They can more safely go in there and harvest that dry standing grass without negatively impacting it.
You mentioned fall. With us going into winter this dry and with this little forage, is there going to be a problem finding enough to feed?
Well, absolutely. The hay production from a lot of the sandhills meadows or any dry land, hay production is considerably down. I've heard some people talk in our sandhills, in the sandhills meadows, where they're seeing, 50 to 70% production of hay compared to average years. And then likewise here during the summer months, we've talked a lot with a lot of people about some of the annual forages that they might use for production later this summer and into the fall. One of the key opportunities there, of course, is if irrigation is available. Irrigated wheat this year, which is currently being harvested and complete in a lot of areas. We're having a number of people come in with annual forages in that ground.
Jerry Volesky, our guest, UNL Extension Range and Forage Specialist. Jerry, thanks for the time.
You bet.